Thank you. Please be seated. Members of the National Assembly that are here with us today, members of the Federal Executive Council. We are pleased to have Dr. Kabruka with us, the President of ADB. Thank you for your participation. The Chairman and Board members of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, thank you for what you are doing. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, captains of industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by appreciating our young farmers. And I believe that just like I was fascinated, most of you, when you listen to them, you feel proud. And just like Kabruka was telling me, after listening to these young men and women, that this is the middle class. And in a country where the middle class now go into farming, that is the beginning of the proper revolution. So Mrs. Ndidi Weneli, thank you. Mrs. Mosu Moru, thank you. Kofo Adegoke, thank you. Nemeka, we are pleased with you. Eliel Sam, thank you. Tafida Isa, you said you were forced into the business, but you are doing wonderfully well, and you are now happy to be there because you want to be like Dangote, and you'll be there. Thank you. Francis Okwaro, thank you. Adeni Adenuga, we are pleased with you. I am delighted to be here with you on this occasion of the formal opening of the 19th Nigerian Economic Summit, the third in the life of this administration. The summit is jointly organized, as you've been told, by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, the National Planning Commission, and the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. The annual Nigerian Economic Summit has remained the foremost platform for dialogue between the public and private sectors. The summit is in the 20th year. I congratulate the Nigerian Economic Summit Group and the National Planning Commission on this achievement of sustained dialogue over the last 20 years, because it's not easy to maintain something that money is needed to be spent. The summit provides an opportunity to discuss issues and challenges facing the development of our country with a view to finding practical solutions. Let me therefore commend the organizers for being steadfast and consistent in providing this national platform that fosters open and continued dialogue on Nigeria's economic development. Though from what we have been told, that this year's summit is unique because it's set to focus on a single sector of the economy, that's agriculture. But I don't completely agree with that, because you cannot discuss agriculture without discussing land. You cannot discuss agriculture without talking about farm managers, agronomists, agri-engineers, and agri-economists, and that is education. This summit is coming at a critical time in our political history, following my formal launching of the mid-term report of the transformation agenda of our administration during the Democracy Day celebration on May 29 this year. It is the determination of this administration to lay a solid foundation for the transformation of Nigeria's agricultural sector for enhanced growth and development. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the summit theme, which is growing agriculture as a business to diversify Nigeria's economy, is most appropriate, especially at this time that the country is more determined than ever to unlock the great potentials of agriculture in order to ensure food security, create jobs, and generate wealth. And I have to thank the young men and women that clearly discussed this topic, the issue of shifting away from thinking that agriculture is a simple poverty alleviation program and a huge price for that. And Nigeria became a net food importing country instead of a country that's supposed to export food to others, especially considering the fact that we have very rich ecological zones in this country, starting from the ocean, passing through the freshwater, swampy areas, through the savanna belt to the semi-arid areas, and even the plateau area that we have mountainous ranges that you can grow plants that grow in subtropical climates. The importance of food makes our economy vulnerable as any price shock in the global food market impacts on us. We cannot depend on others to feed us. Our population is too big to depend on imported food. We launched the Agricultural Transformation Agenda at the start of this administration with the goal of adding 20 million metric tons of food to the domestic food supply and creating 3.5 million jobs for our young people. We now treat agriculture as a business in order to diversify our economy, generate employment, and create wealth for millions of our young people. And of course, I won't just listen to these young men and women. We know that we are going in the right direction. Our goal is to use agriculture as a springboard for Nigeria's industrialization. That is why we have taken a full value chain approach in the development of the agricultural sector. I must commend the Minister and Minister of Agriculture for what they are doing in this sector and what we have done in the past 2 years especially. The rice revolution that has been unleashed in the dry season across 10 states in the northern part of this country The revolutionary reform in our fertilizer sector has been acclaimed by Nigerians and others across the world. We ended the corruption in the fertilizer sector. We listened to the minister. Today, the private sector sells fertilizer directly to farmers instead of the old system of government buying and selling through chains of middlemen. And at the end of the day, the fertilizer doesn't get to the farmer, or even if it gets there, sometimes adulterated fertilizer, with half of the bag will be sand grains. The modernization of the input supply system with our launch of the use of mobile phones to deliver subsidized fertilizers and seeds has empowered the farmers. We have restored dignity back to the farmers. I am pleased that the private sector is expanding investment in the agricultural sector as they build on government's commitment and business-minded approach in the sector. Local and international agro-businesses now see opportunities all across the entire agricultural value chain, from seeds, fertilizers, storage, logistics, agro-processing, and agro-manufacturing. Private sector investors are taking advantage of our abundant natural gas and petrochemical industry policy to establish new fertilizer manufacturing plants. This will, in due course, reduce the need to import fertilizer and turn Nigeria into the leading fertilizer manufacturing hub in Africa. The development of the staple crop processing zone will allow private sector food manufacturing plants to be established in our rural areas. This is one of the innovations that will revive our rural economy and reduce rural-urban migration. The private sector and several state governments have already embraced the staple crop processing zones. Today, businesses are establishing new plants to transform cassava into starch, high-quality cassava flour, ethanol, and chips for export. We are determined not just to continue to be the largest producers of cassava, just like Akin said, but also to be the largest processor of cassava. Our National Sugar Master Plan will complement these efforts and help to drive new investments to assure that Nigeria becomes self-sufficient in even sugar production. We have embarked on a new drive to turn Nigeria into a major exporter of fresh agricultural produce through new initiatives between the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development and the Ministry of Aviation. Our accelerated efforts to complete the construction of several airport cargo facilities, warehouses, and cold chain logistics systems will position Nigeria to be competitive in the fresh produce market that we are not in at all. Our National Industrial Revolution Plan is also intended to further drive complementary development of our textiles, leather, and food manufacturing industries to add value to our primary commodities. It will also address the constraints affecting the competitiveness of agro-processing and agro-businesses, such as product standards, packaging, and industrial skills. Our ongoing reforms of the Abuja Commodities Exchange will significantly de-risk agro-businesses in Nigeria, stimulate improved access to finance, and stabilize prices for our farmers. All these initiatives in transforming agriculture have been complemented with greater investment in infrastructure, including irrigation, roads, rails, ICT, and power, in order to reduce the cost of doing business, expand markets for agricultural products, and enhance the competitiveness of our economy. I am pleased to note that the government's success in reviving the railway system has culminated in the resumption of rail services across some parts of the country. Presently, you can move your goods from Kano to Lagos and Lagos to Kano through rail. And of course, by the end of this year, we're expecting that the Port Harcourt axis, the eastern axis, will commence operations. We have also made significant progress in improving our road networks. This will make it easier and cheaper to evacuate agricultural produce from the farmers to the markets and reduce post-harvest losses. We are giving greater emphasis to the rehabilitation of our irrigation facilities, construction of new dams, and better management of our water resources to further enhance the productivity of our agriculture. In order to ensure sustainable development of our nation's critical infrastructure, the government has recently concluded the development of a 30-year National Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan 2014 to 2043 with the active participation of the private sector. Of course, the chief planner is in charge. The government has also sustained the implementation of macroeconomic and other sectoral reform initiatives to complement the agricultural sector initiatives for enhanced growth and diversification of the economy. Let me use this unique opportunity, therefore, to call upon the private sector, just like the young men and women did, the key value chain agents, to take ownership of articulating and executing the growth and transformation agenda of the agricultural programs. A critical success factor in this respect is access to affordable finance for farmers and agro-businesses. I wish to commend the Central Bank of Nigeria for its effort in expanding lending to the agricultural sector. The government will continue to develop innovative financing mechanisms to make agricultural credit more affordable. Of course, I listened to the contributors and talked about the issue of financing, and it's an issue we have been talking. A team headed by the finance minister has been working on how government will link up with the private sector and central bank to make sure that farmers get loans at very low interest rates. Probably the coordinating minister may speak along the line, and she will be in position to explain further what government has done and what government is planning to do. I'm convinced that agriculture as a business holds a bright future for our country, especially for the youth. Unemployment among our youth is one of the biggest challenges. The time has come to create jobs and lay a new foundation for Nigeria's economic growth. There is need to get younger farmers, especially young graduates and school leavers, to take on agriculture as a business. And we are quite pleased when we listen to these young people. I'm excited that a lot of young people now see agriculture as a viable business opportunity. The panel of young business men and women, which we have just listened to, has clearly demonstrated that the future of Nigeria's agriculture is indeed bright. In order to encourage our young people and to create a new cadre of young, dynamic, and entrepreneurial commercial farmers and agro-businesses, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has developed the Young Employment in Agriculture program. Over the next 5 years, this program will see the emergence of young graduates and school leavers across all geopolitical zones of the country into commercial farmers and agro-businesses. They will be called Nagropreneurs. These Nagropreneurs will, through their businesses, create jobs for hundreds of thousands of Nigerian youth. To these young people, I say, you are the leaders of tomorrow, and your leadership training starts from today. I wish you well as you take giant strides to make agriculture modern, commercial, and global. Let me use this opportunity to call on all young people to take advantage of this opportunity. We must revolutionize agriculture in Nigeria. The days where farmers are considered as poor and rural people are over. Nigerian farmers now must be seen as among the middle and the top echelons of society. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me reiterate our government's commitment to the process of dialogue and cooperation represented by the Nigerian Economic Summit. I also wish to assure you that we will continue to earnestly consider and adopt the appropriate recommendations of the summit. In this regard, the government already has a framework that requires the Minister of National Planning to forward the summit's recommendations to the Federal Executive Council, after which the ministries, departments, and agencies of government will take immediate steps to implement the recommendations approved by the Federal Executive Council. This year's report will follow the same pattern. On this note, it is now my great pleasure to launch the youth employment. I think they are ready. Do you have some of them here?
All the distinguished entrepreneurs, please to come forward. Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause as they come forward to take their stand here.
On this note, it is now my great pleasure to launch the Youth Employment in Agriculture program and to formally declare the 9th Nigerian Economic Summit open. I wish you all a fruitful deliberation. Thank you all.
Yes,